Thank you so much for joining me. We have a very special guest in the studio with us today. I'm Daniel Burbank.
I'm Elliot Hellman.
And today in the studio joining us is four-time Iditarod Champion Lance Mackey. Welcome to Bismarck. Thank you for stopping by the Mysticast Mystic Media program. You've had a pretty busy day today.
You know, I think it's been perfect. We got a little tour of town, the State Building, Capitol, the museum, the radio, TV. I don't even know what we're all doing, but it's all been
done
good.
It all.
It's been fun. So
Been doing it all.
You've done it all. Radio, newspaper, TV. You're a busy guy.
I'm all over.
All for a good reason.
Absolutely.
So welcome. Do you have a favorite place that you visited in Bismarck?
Oh, I think the one I'm at the moment is my favorite.
Well, thank you. You're very kind.
Awesome.
Elliot, I think you have a couple questions.
I do have a few questions. Absolutely, got a few written down. So Iditarod dog racing. A lot of people might be interested. What's your opinion on cats?
I have two of them.
You have two cats.
I do. They think they're dogs. But they live with 70 dogs, so they don't know any different.
That makes a lot of sense,
Yeah,
actually.
I have no problem. I'm an animal lover, so cats are great.
All right. And then how many dogs do you own exactly?
That's a great question. I wish I could answer that exact number. Around 70 with the house dogs, retired dogs, puppies.
Wow.
I tell people I have a dog addiction, not just sled dogs. So,
Okay.
Pomeranians, Chihuahuas, Great Danes, Dobermans, Rottweilers, and a variety of huskies, young all the way to retired. So.
Wow. And so do you plan on getting any more anytime soon?
I think we could probably fill a few spots. 70, I don't know, 80. What's the difference?
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, true that. And it's funny you mention it as an addiction. Is it more? Do you really call it an addiction, or is it just an absolute love?
I think it is a little bit of all of those things. The addicting part is the unconditional love and I guess the responsibility, the commitment, the lifestyle. All of those things, in my opinion, are what I was put on earth for. So, yeah, I can tell you there's a hell of a lot worse addictions to have.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess if you're going to be surrounded by a whole bunch of loving dogs,
And cats.
what better? And a few cats, absolutely.
Absolutely.
What better way to wake up in the morning and just be smothered by a whole bunch of puppies?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't change it for the world.
There we go.
So now let's back up to the very, very beginning of the story. We talked about this earlier today. When did you start racing?
I can honestly say I started racing before I was born. And people look at me kind of funny when they say that. I guess fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, my parents were doing this before I was born, and my mom was actually 7 months pregnant with me in her last race, or one of her last races. So I like to joke and say that it probably was, she probably had me on the trail that day, which was probably the end of her career and the beginning of mine, unbeknownst to me. But I was driving a 3-dog team when I was very young, coming up the teenage years and what have you. So by the time I was 14 years old, I was driving 10 dogs, 150 miles by myself, racing in kids' races, they call them. And so here we are today, pushing 50, still running in kids' races. They just happen to be about 1,000 miles.
So, it's a big difference. My goodness. What did the other, children that you interacted with? Was it tough being in the race with other kids, or did you kind of know you were the best?
No, I still don't consider myself the best. I happen to have a pretty good race record, but there's other people that have race records too. Been doing this a heck of a lot longer. For whatever reason, mine is a little bit different than some. No, growing up, it was a way of life, basically. My first word was dog, and my first toy was a puppy. And that was just the way we was brought up. We traveled, everybody in the neighborhood would have snow machines and four-wheelers and stuff. We had dogs. And that's just how it was. And I never went to these races thinking I was the best. Normally I went to these races and I was normally towards the back of the pack. My passion and my desire was to figure out why these dogs would want to pull my lazy butt around in the first place was. You know, why would they want to go forward? Why would they want to listen to me? You know?
And why did they?
I think their willingness to please and their you know, I think I can communicate with a dog better than I can most people. I think I understand them. I don't expect them to do something that they don't want to do. You can't make them do something they don't want to do. And I think that's a huge difference between myself and some of my current competitors. They're in it for the wrong reason, in my opinion. And they do want on the, you know, the cover of the newspaper or recognized, and I could care less about all those things. But what I do care about is my dogs, how they look and how they act and, you know, the way they represent themselves. I don't have to brag about them doing what they do and how they love to do what they do. You know, just look at them, watch them, you know.
You sound very proud of your dogs.
I mean, I am. I'm a proud papa, you know. They've done a lot of great things, and the greatest things they've done was change my life in a lot of ways. And
That's very powerful.
it is extremely powerful, and it's addicting, and that's why I want to continue. I'm not old enough to retire. I'm not educated enough to be another professional. I don't like the idea of punching a time clock and going to a job that I'm not good at for a person or a boss that I probably don't care that much about. And that's, take it as you will, you know. I live what I call a modernized caveman. I live out in the hills with a generator, and I haul my own water, and you know, I don't wear a watch, and I don't have a clock in my house. Really don't know what day of the week it is at the moment. Don't own a TV, and we don't get newspaper.
And does it feel good to really just be out in your own element?
Are you kidding me? It's the greatest. I'm going to just guess that a lot of people wish that they could live like that. Maybe not with the dogs in 40 below in the middle of pitch black winter in Alaska, but
Right.
as far as the, you know, pretty much doing what I want, going where I want, with whoever I want, you know.
Sounds like the life.
I don't think it's a bad lifestyle. I don't believe it's for everybody. I don't know that this is a, you know, this is a family show, so I'm going to keep it clean here, but it's not always glamorous. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that aren't all that appealing, even to somebody that lives the lifestyle. But it's part of it. You have to take the good with the bad. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this world that don't believe in what we do, or animal sports in any form.
And what do you say to those people who don't?
Come hang out with me for a day or two, and I'll change your mind. You know, again, I commented a second ago, you can't make these dogs do something they don't want to do. To run across the state of Alaska in some of the, what people think are the most harshest environments in the, you know, in the middle of the winter. Okay, what a lot of people don't understand is these are not your common house dogs. These dogs were born, bred, raised, trained for this kind of an event. It's just like a horse in the Kentucky Derby. You don't see Clydesdales in that event. Okay? Those horses were born, bred, raised for that type of event, and that specific event. That's what they do. That's what they love. Okay? It's the people that don't know or aren't educated that have a problem with what I do. Okay? And I have no problem challenging those people. I will pay your airfare to the state of Alaska, pay your week's wages that you may or may not have lost. And at the end of the week, if you still have the same opinion that we are neglecting, abusing, or making these dogs do what they're doing, I'll double your pay. Okay? And that's open invitation for anybody, because that's how strongly I believe in what I do and I'm passionate about, and it's our state sport. I'm a born, bred, raised Alaskan. I love my state. I love my sport even
and
more.
I could see you're very proud of that.
And I get a little worked up about it sometimes, and I could go on forever here because it is hard to be doing something so passionately with a bunch of people that doubt what we're doing and make it hard to do what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, that you don't worry about what other people say. And
I try not to, but there is a time and a point, excuse me, that certain things are said or done that make my life a little bit more difficult. And I have a hard time repeating myself, trying to prove to people that aren't open-minded or want to be open-minded. It angers a lot of us because these are my children, these are my babies, this is my hobby, my passion.
Is it your everything?
They are my everything. They are my everything. Most people carry pictures of their kids and stuff in the wall. And I got dog's pictures, and I got a pendant with my dog around my neck. You know, this is my life. Okay? There's nothing in the world I wouldn't do for them.
And you wouldn't change it for the world, huh?
Not even a little bit. If you come to my house, I have 15 house dogs. Normally they're riddled on the couches and the beds, and you will not kick them off the couch or the bed to sit down because that's their couch, to sit on the floor, as I do. If my dogs are on my bed and they're sleeping, I'm not going to wake them up to go lay on the floor. I can grab a pillow and lay on the floor just like they can. I'm one of them. They're one of me. And I'm useless without them, and I feel kind of the same, you know, they're probably not useless without me or vice versa. But yeah,
But you're
I'm
that
on the
passionate
team.
about that.
Very much so.
So let's talk about the movie, the documentary. You know, it's when you first saw the documentary, what did you think of it?
I thought that they could have went a lot of different directions with the story. You know, that was damn near 50 years of life put into a very short amount of time. I think they portrayed me really well. I think that the story that I would like to be known, they did. It was the relationship with my parents that brought this all together and made it what it is. There's many stories inside that story. I cried. I laughed. I got mad. All of those things that were memories or reliving memories, certain things that I had tried to forget about or bottled up, you know, used as excuses. They were all brought back to life at a much later time in my life. After experiencing certain things, I had more of an understanding.
Did you relive those memories after watching this documentary?
I did. And some of them not so glamorous and so positive, but they were still part of it. Not every day is a good day. Not every day is a holiday. You know, we all have ups and downs. We all have stories. Mine just happened to be put on film for the world to see.
And are you okay with that? Or why do you think now is the time to tell your story?
I never thought it was time in the first place. Other people thought it was time. I didn't think I had much of a different story than a lot of people on this planet. A lot of similarities, probably. It's all about overcoming obstacles, not giving up, not being told what I could and couldn't do, and being limited because of maybe handicaps, if you will. I don't consider myself handicapped at all. I have some side effects from a very serious disease that was caused by society, in my opinion, with the foods we eat and the pesticides and all the things that we, put into our body. So yeah, I was angry at that too. And I think that a majority of society can relate to this story that could, be in my shoes. And I think that's one of the reasons it's so successful is because it is real. It is normal. I am a normal guy, in my opinion. Most people think I'm, some kind of a superhero or something because I run dogs across the state of Alaska. To me, that's a normal upbringing. I was born there. I know what 40 below and 3 hours of daylight in the winter are like.
Yeah, I mean,
not uncommon.
we went through that just this past winter, so I got a little taste of -40 for a few months.
And not many people are, it's not appealing to a lot of people.
No.
I'm not going to lie, it's not all that appealing to me anymore. The older I get, the less appealing it becomes.
I had to buy a couple new coats, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
A couple new hats as well.
70s in Phoenix is looking a lot better than, -0s in North
that
Dakota or
just
Minnesota,
depends on who
wherever,
you
you know?
ask.
But yeah, I
guess.
mean, do you have anything else?
Any other
that is important?
questions? Looking through here. Excuse me for a second.
I mean, do you now feel ready after watching that documentary? Do you feel ready to tell your story?
I've been ready, and I think it from the first time it was introduced or publicized. I mean, maybe I wasn't at that time. This has now been several years. I've been literally from east to west coast, just about every state showing this film at one time or another, and yeah, I am ready. I think people were ready to see it. I think it was something that was long overdue for me to, if you will, get off my chest. Things that I had been holding back, feelings for no real reasons. And again, having to relive some of these things, talk about them, and then, for me to sit down and watch me was a little odd.
Was it kind of weird when you first saw and say,
Kinda.
wow, wait a minute, there I am, but here I am sitting in the theater?
It was really weird. It really was. I mean, I've watched, let's say Iditarod videos, and there's a portion of it that has a little bit to do with me here and there, but this is an entire documentary about me.
It's you.
And again, a lot of old memories and feelings that I had bottled up that were rekindled or established that I really didn't care to relive or remember or talk about to complete strangers, or to have complete strangers know. I'm not the most, maybe I was pretty standoffish, and I didn't really offer a lot of information at one time. Those things have changed. I have no problem, as you can tell now, talking.
And we
I'm
thank you
voicing
for
my
that.
opinion, and that's what it is, my opinion.
Yes.
I'm not one to judge. And I think that a lot of people, unfortunately, are unable to break away from their everyday lifestyle, or the rut, I call it, because change is so scary to people. And I think this is, again, yet another
Is it
example.
healing? Is it healing in a way?
Absolutely. It's absolutely just the, again, getting some of these things off my chest or out in the open, or feelings and what have you. Yeah. It was very healing for me. That's a great way to put it.
All right, and so let's talk a little bit about the future. So you got all these different records, 4-time Iditarod racing champion, we'll call it. You're still racing. Any other goals that you have with racing, or just kind of doing it for fun, or what do you think?
That's a great question. I still have a very active dog kennel. I have 2 young kids that I would love to see pursue this, if they so choose.
Okay.
I also race cars in the summertime.
Oh, fun.
So it kind of fills the gap, in the summer months, because dogs have been my life, literally my entire life, and I'm not going to say that I'm not racing. I can guarantee I'll have dogs my entire life. I don't mean I'm going to be racing them, but somebody will be. I can see myself as a coach and a mentor. I can see myself running a variety of different style or type of races other than the 1,000-milers. That being said, I've acquired a team of what we call hound dogs. They're German short-haired pointer cross sprint dogs. So, I've been able to go to Wyoming and race stage stop races. I've been to Norway racing. I really don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, let alone next year racing. But we'll be doing something.
All right, I'd love to hear it.
I'm not sure where.
Is it fun? I mean, when you're on the trail and it's just you on that 1,000-mile trail in Alaska, I mean, what do you see on the trip? I mean, what?
First off, I'm never alone. I have 14 or 16 of my very best friends with me that rely on me, and I rely on them to get me to the finish line or checkpoints or through a windstorm or what have you. Again, I've been asked that. What do you think about? What do you my obvious concern and responsibility is that team. And that's normally what we're thinking about and focused on, and not really worried about the sun coming up over the mountains and how gorgeous it is, or the ice pack that's going out, things like that. But Alaska is a very big state. People pay a lot of money to go there and charter an airplane to fly around for an hour or two, or take a train from one point to another, drive, from one tip to the other. In my opinion, there's no better way to see the state of Alaska than from behind a dog team. Okay? At 8 miles an hour, you get time to look around. You get time to absorb it. You get time to appreciate it.
Do you feel that you're
and
one with nature?
I've never felt like I belonged anywhere more than I belong on the Iditarod Trail. Again, my roots are from Alaska. I've said many a times, if you're in the state of Alaska and you're in a pinch and you need out, I'm the guy you'd want to call. I'm pretty good in the environment and making, shelters out of snowbanks and fires out of wet leaves. I'm not bragging about it, but I'm pretty good at what I do, and it is never the same trip, okay? It's always different, and if you change one dog from last year's team, that's a new team. The trail is never the exact same. The trail might be from point A to point B, that's the same, but different time of day, different weather conditions. All of those things,
So is it the exact same length in the same spot every year, or do they shift it around Alaska?
That's a great question. No, there's actually two routes. They call it the northern and the southern route, and that's so that they can include more of the state.
Right. Do you have a favorite, north or south?
Both of them.
Okay.
Because, again, I don't want to say that I have a certain checkpoint that's my favorite or a certain area that's my favorite, because when I'm in that spot at that time, that is my favorite. The northern route is a little bit easier maybe because you're going downriver with the wind at your back. There's a little more activity on the river from the Snow Machine Village traffic as opposed to the southern route. However, my first victory came on the southern route. A little more challenging. I've always seemed to have a little more challenging type of a lifestyle or chain of events. And I think the more challenging it is, the better I seem to do. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think we got.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's a good way to end. I think, there's a lot of other questions that I got in here, but, there's always...
I'll sit here and run out all the film you have, man.
Oh, man, there we go. Okay.
I think we have 83 hours of film, but we do...
I'm going to need another cup of coffee.
We might have to wrap it up here, but thank you so much for coming in, touring our relatively new studio. We're just getting set up here in this particular building. Thank you for coming to Bismarck, chatting with us and all of the students and sharing your message. So if you want to leave viewers with one last thing, just one message, what would that be?
Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. You got a dream, make it happen. You want something bad enough, you will make it happen.
Love it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to have you on the set.
No, you guys, that was really
Absolutely,
great, and I appreciate you having me, and all the people down here. They've been just, you know, hospitable and just polite and sincere, and that's those are the kind of memories that I'm looking for as well. You know, so this is part of me promoting my sport.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. And of course, always check us out on Facebook at BSC Mystic Media. And again, we have Lance in the studio. We appreciate him sharing his story. I'm Daniel Burbank.
I'm Elliot Hellman.
I'm Lance Mackey.
Thank you. And thank you so much for watching.